Okay, guys, it is 9 o'clock. And first of all, I want to say thank you for those that are here. I know we still have people hopping on. So I start promptly just because I get 30 minutes with you. And I feel like those 30 minutes are important. So today we are going to talk about essential documentation strategies for small business owners. Now, I wish that I didn't have to do this topic because I feel like for most small businesses, it should be much of common sense with regards to making sure. But it seems like every conversation I have with small businesses, they really aren't aware of what they should have and what they need to have as part of some compliance guidelines. So I'm hoping 30 minutes. We're going to run through just some tips of what I know you need to have. So welcome. This is a Wednesday webinar. As you know, 30 minutes long. We're going to keep it at that. On the call with me today is Sarah and Jess. Sarah, both of them will be watching the Q&A. So feel free to ask questions. Just if there's something the entire room can benefit from. Okay. So let's get started. I get 30 minutes. So all right, guys. All right. So what do I mean by documentation? So there's the physical kind, right? There's the physical kind of documents, your bank statements, your payables and receivables, your tax returns, your expenses, your policies and procedures, all the legal stuff, your EIN, the certificate, any licenses that you hold, etc. Okay. Then there's the virtual kind. And I have a client base that's pretty extensive. I know that many of you are cloud-based now. You still have to hold that data close, right? You have your email, you have passwords, all of that get you connected to all of the vendors that you use when you go to the internet. Okay. And then there's the documentation you don't know about. And this is my concern because it seems like every client I board, every new client that comes to me, when we start our relationship, I, on your behalf, have to compile that data, right? And that data is oftentimes nowhere near where it should be. Oftentimes, my clients don't even know that, oh God, I never thought about I needed that account information. So that specifically is what we're going to talk about today. Is we're going to talk about the documentation that you don't know about, account information, domain information, online accounts, login credentials, equipment credentials. So all of that, okay? Now, I can tell you 100% of the clients we currently work with are underprepared for knowing their information, okay? We have a client when we started working with them had a fantastic website. The website was beautiful. When we went to establish emails for them, we needed to get access to that domain. We needed to get access to his website domain. We reached out to the vendor, and the vendor wouldn't give it to him. He would not give him access to it. He would not have anything. It was his. We did some research, and in fact, the website developer purchased the domain and it wasn't even in the client's name. So the client had no right to it. He could not take possession of it. So we want to be really careful with regards to how and who we're establishing relationships with when we go to set up accounts. Okay. All right. So this is going to be the hardest part because you have to think about all of those accounts you have, who created them, and who has access. I will tell you, I'm going to get resistance. You're all groaning and moaning right now. You're groaning and moaning because nobody wants to do this. But this is an important step. So I need you to create a list of documents you know you can put your hands on right now. I know you should be able to put your hands on the EIN number, the certificates, anything that you have to do business, tax returns, bank statements, reconciliation reports, employee records. You should know where all of that stuff is. That's the easy stuff, right? Okay. Then you're going to create a list of all of the online vendors you have, your accounts, your software programs, you and your employees access. Now that is the struggle because you have many of you, most of you have people, right? You have people in your building that support you. You have people that you rely on to do specific tasks, and they in turn are creating accounts for you, right? So anything on your accounting side, point of sale software, email, internet service provider information, domain provider, where you got your www dot whatever it is.com, any specialty or custom software that you use, a list of your vendors. Who are they? Who do you pay every month? Your passwords, and that's a big one, right? Password management. And then last is creating a list of the equipment you know has some type of configuration on it. Okay. Your credit card machines, your printers, your routers, your firewalls. That all has some type of identifiable information that links that equipment to you. Okay. And so this, I need you to get out a notebook and I need you to start to make a list of all of these pieces that are important for you to run your business. Okay. All right. It's going to be the worst. This is the worst part. All right. Now, how to gain control over your information. So we have to determine the who. Okay. You will be surprised at how many people have access to your accounts. Okay. So I need you now that you have the list, right? You have the list of everything that you know you can think of. Determine who has access to it. Who has access to the physical documents? Okay. This should be a very small group of administrative staff. And of course, you. And you should be able to put your hands on it. So for my CEOs in the room, for my business owners in the room, yes, you are making an assumption that your accountant or your financial person that runs your company and helps you run your company has those documentations. I need you to verify. I need you to verify that you know where they are. Okay. All right. And then there's the virtual stuff. This may be your entire team. If your entire team accesses the accounting software, your entire team has access to it, which means if one of those pieces, one of those employees leave, then somebody like me, your IT person, needs to know so that we can quickly lock them down because they can do damage, right? So we want to make sure that even the virtual stuff, that's the stuff that's most important because you can access it anywhere, right? You can access that stuff by sitting at home on your couch. So you want to be careful that with regards to the virtual documentation, who has access to your stuff. If you use any type of government site, and I work a lot in the government sector, so you want to make sure that any state website that you log into, any reporting you do for the state or federal government, who has logins, who has login credentials to that stuff. Okay. All right. And then the other stuff. This could be a vendor that has access. This could be a friend, a family member, an employee. And it could be as simple as whoever orders your office supplies, right? So we want to make sure that any account that is created, who has access to it. Okay. All right. Now, how to safeguard this information. Okay. We have the list, right? We have the list. We have the who. Okay. Who has access to it? What about the where? Okay. So it's time to gather the data, right? It's time to gather it and get it together. All right. So how to safeguard this information? Okay. Both the physical documents and the virtual stuff should have been relatively easy to gather. Okay. The concern is the missing stuff and data that others have. Okay. So information that belongs to you. All right. So it's time to make some calls. And I know you can delegate. So for my decision makers on the call, my owners, you don't have to be the one to do it. Although you may have to be the one to do it, because if your name is on the account, the vendor, whoever it is you're calling, should have to authenticate who you are, Okay. All right. So here's an example. An employee created an account with office supplies. Okay. The employee left and no one had access to order equipment. Not only that, but they couldn't access any of their orders. So they had no idea what they ordered previously. They had no access to any invoicing of what they paid. because they couldn't access that account. So they ultimately had to start over. And you would think that would be an easy thing, right? You would think that'd be an easy thing, but this was a pretty big office and it was just a struggle. They had to ultimately start over. Okay. All right. So there was another client that I had, their accounting system from a third party vendor. They were having problems and needed to talk directly to their tech, their help desk, and they weren't able to resolve an issue because the decision maker wasn't available. So you want to make sure that you understand who's on your accounts. Okay. So here's the next steps. Call anyone who may have access to your information. Okay. By that, I mean your tech company. If we are your tech company, and we do have some new people on the call. So if we're your tech company, then I should have that data. Okay. Now, here's the thing, guys. It's fluid, right? It's never one and done. You don't get to, I will create your vendor list, right? I have that for you. It's part of your detailed technology manual. So that's fantastic, right? But it changes. You all change things. And unless you update us, I don't necessarily know. I will eventually find out, but oftentimes it's too late. It's after a problem has arisen and I'm like, well, the information that I have wasn't kept current. So you have to make sure that you are talking to your IT company. Okay. They should be helping you kind of navigate this. At least we do. All right. Your website company, where you purchased your domain from. Now, many of you purchased from GoDaddy. Many of you have no idea where you got your domain. And it's yours. It's your identity. It's your marketing, right? It's how your company flows and generates business. Your network, your ISP, your internet service provider. Who are they? Okay. Who are they? Document it. What your account information is. Who do you call when it goes down? Where's the phone number for them? Okay. Vendors who set up accounts for you. Okay. Employees who set up accounts for you. Family, friends who set up accounts for you. So you just want to gather the information of who you're going to be talking to. Okay. All right. Now here's what to say. I've even given you some verbiage because I know how frustrating it is. Now, if you are a client on the call, and we have quite a few of you here, we want to make sure we will help you with this. Now, I may need you, right? I may need you to verify that I'm okay to talk to them. So you're not out of it scot-free. I'm sorry, because it does involve you if you are the decision maker and your name is on the account. If you are not on the account at all, there's a problem. Okay. Because everything on the technology documentation side should have your name on it. Okay. My company establishes a lot of accounts for you. We do it on your behalf. It is not in my name. It is in my client's name. And so we do that just instinctively here, where when we generate an account or we create something new, that my client's name's always on it. But that's not always what happens. Okay. That's not always what happens. So here's what you're going to say. As cybersecurity requirements become more and more stringent, I am compiling all of our account information. I need any login credentials, both user information and passwords of my accounts. Okay. So if they resist, and I will tell you they probably will, if they still refuse, be sure you understand why. Why are they refusing to provide you with your information? Okay. Why? If it's proprietary, right? Where it's not really yours, never has been yours. You don't even have access to it. You just use it, right? Then we need to understand that and we need to document it so that during an audit, we can explain that. Okay. If they simply refuse to give you your information, your login credentials, your passwords, then my suggestion would be we consider replacing them, right? Because that's a vendor that's holding your information hostage. And unfortunately, it happens more than I care to admit. Okay. So just note stuff. All right. So here's some questions to ask. These questions may help you set up this equipment account software for me. And I'm looking for the login credentials. Can you provide me with that? Okay. Is there a particular website that I need to access to gain access to the account? Okay. Obtain any relevant information. That would be helpful if you needed to talk to them, to troubleshoot a problem, pay an invoice, add or remove a service or a feature. Make sure you have the account number, the contact person, your sales rep, their phone number, an email, security pins, access codes, two-factor information. Are you two-factoring to your cell phone? Are you two-factoring to your email? Whose cell phone, whose email? You need to document it. Okay. And then any other person that may have access to your account. Okay. Now, I will be honest in saying we have a lot of struggles day to day with our existing clients with regards to keeping that information up to date. So I'm begging you, if you are an existing client and something changes, please make sure my team knows, because we provide a detailed technology manual. And that manual is so important during an audit, because legally I need to be able to put my hands on it. I need to be able to identify that, yes, we have control. You have control. So I need all of that information. Okay. Now, I don't know if you're new here and you're not a client, then make sure you talk to your IT people. Talk to them. If you don't have an IT people, get one. Get one. In today's cybersecurity risks, you need to have somebody that's got your back. You need somebody that's going to take on some of that risk for you. Okay. So just these are the questions to ask. Okay. All right. You have the information now. So hypothetically, this process could take you months. I'm not going to lie. It's not going to take you a day to gather this crap. This is going to take you potentially weeks and or months. So please have some patience. Create a checklist for yourself so you feel like you're making progress. But now that you have the data, the information, what are you going to do with it? Okay. Now the physical documents, your EIN certificate, your tax returns, all of that stuff, the foundation of your company. Make sure it's in a fireproof safety deposit box. Take it to the bank. Just make sure that you got it secure. If your building were to burn, I don't want those documents to burn. Okay. Then there's the virtual information. And I hear so much that I do everything in the cloud. I don't have any data. Okay. You do have data. That data in the cloud is yours. So we need to understand how we access that if the internet goes down, right? Because the cloud is basically the internet, guys, right? It's just on a web browser somewhere. That's what that means. So you're still responsible for making sure that your data, even if it's in the cloud, has a backup. Okay. So that you can access it. Okay. So just understand virtual information is very deceiving because people think, oh, it's in the cloud and I don't need to worry about it. I don't have any data on my computer. Okay. You do. Anyway, account information, including passwords, needs to be documented. Now, I do not want passwords on a Post-it. Okay. Passwords on Post-its, no longer allowed. Okay. Passwords in a notebook. No, I don't. I would prefer not that either. If you do have something where it is a document, a Word document, okay, raise your hand if you've ever had a Word document that said passwords. And it was basically 15 pages of every password you've ever created. We want to make sure that that stuff is secure now. That document has to be secure on your unit. If in fact that's what you're doing, it should be password protected so that if you get hacked, they can't access that document without a password. Okay. So we want to add encryption if necessary. You want to make sure that if you choose to print, please consider it confidential and ensure it's protected from access by just anyone. Okay. All right. So please be careful with regards to your physical stuff. Now, passwords, I would recommend a password manager. If you are an existing client and we have not talked about it, I need to make sure that when we do a QBR or quarterly business reviews, that we talk about a password management because your staff are doing stuff. They are. And we want to make sure that when they create a password and you need to gain access to that you have the ability to do that. We also want the ability to lock down an employee who leaves. So if you have a password manager, we can help you with that. Okay. So we can help you lock down very quickly with regards to somebody gaining access via sitting at home. Okay, so who should have access to these documents? Okay, so only those that need access should have it. Okay, so a post-it note with your login credentials on it stuck to your monitor under the keyboard is not an option anymore. Okay. Don't let everyone create accounts for you. Be very selective with regards to whether you've got an employee that you just randomly give permission to create an account, especially an account that you're going to need to access in the future. Okay. So put that on a team that's close to your heart, right? Put that on a team that you trust. Always ensure that those that do create accounts for you are doing it on your behalf using your information. So do not allow them to create an account with their name unless your name is somewhere there. Okay. Now I have staff I trust, I love them. However, I always want to make sure that when they create an account, they can absolutely create it under the account. Sarah and Jessica do it for me all the time, but my name's there somewhere as well. So just so that I can gain access if for some reason they ever want to leave me, which I pray they never do. But just in case they ever do, I want to make sure that I can still gain access to the account. Okay. All right. All right. So if CST is your IT provider, and I know there's a bunch of you on the call that is a client already. Thank you for being here, by the way. If we are, ask for your detailed technology manual and ask for it quarterly. Ask for it quarterly. Every time we do a technology business review or a quarterly business review, all the same thing, be sure you ask for a copy. Okay. This document contains all the credentials of your accounts and systems that we have documentation of. The problem is that you all change stuff. You change stuff and we change stuff and sometimes we got to cross stuff off and sometimes we got to add stuff and if you don't review it, then I am assuming it is accurate. And I know it's not. Okay. So you should be looking at your DTM. It has your assets. It has every vendor you do business with. It has all of your notes with regards to how we troubleshoot problems for you. So you want to just get eyes on it every quarter, minimally once or twice a year, so that you can just say, hey, this vendor's gone. We added this vendor. This is the credentials. And it makes it a little bit easier for you and for me with regards to troubleshooting problems as we move forward. Okay. So provide us with everything you've collected and we will keep it safe and sound for you. Okay. We will do that for you. Okay. If you have another IT provider, so if it's not us, we're fine, right? As long as they're doing a good job for you, ask them for your information. Okay. They should have it and they should be willing to give it to you. All right. So I know that that's not always the case. Many of my existing clients on this call truly do understand because when we started doing business, right, they wouldn't give us the information, which was a struggle. Now, oftentimes we can backdoor some stuff, but ideally, there's a problem in the IT industry where some IT companies just like to hold your information hostage, thinking that you won't leave them. Right. So be careful. We just want to make sure that you have all of the information from that your IT provider has. All right. Okay. So documentation includes policies and procedures. All right. So any one of you that is in a compliance based industry, if you take any type of personal identifiable information, including credit cards, if you take credit cards, you need to make sure that you have policies in place that protects that data. It's consumer data. You need to make sure that you're protecting it. Now, everyone should have an IT policy. Okay. That's standard. It's just, here's my IT policy and procedures. You're going to give that to every new hire. You're going to give that to existing hires. You're going to say, look, these are my expectations with regards to surfing the internet. You are not allowed to get on your social media all day. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to check personal email. It gives them your boundaries of what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. Okay. And remember, your employees are your number one risk for ransomware and viruses. So please be careful. We gotta get them an IT policy so that you have repercussions if they do something that you don't want them to do. All right. All of you should have a disaster recovery and preparedness plan. Okay. If you're in an industry where compliance is required, DFS, CISA, industry standards, this is a must. Okay. Now, for my Florida, my Southern clients, I have a bunch of you. I have a bunch of you. You guys get really unpredictable weather. Okay. So I need to make sure that we have a plan when a hurricane's headed. Okay. What is the plan? What is, I want it written. I want it written. I want a checkbox. I want to know that if a storm is coming, this is your paper that you're going to look to and you're going to check it. Okay. So you should have that plan in place. Okay. If you're in my government industry, right, you need to have it. You need to have it. It's long and it's tedious, and I've created a draft for you, but it's going to take you time to get through the draft. Okay. Cyber insurance. Talk to your insurance carrier about obtaining cyber liability insurance. Okay. Now, oftentimes I don't need cyber liability insurance because I don't care if I get attacked. You really do. You really do care. Even if you don't understand exactly what you have on your system. Okay. Even if you say, I would never pay a ransom. I'm not going to pay a ransom. So I don't really care to have cyber insurance. Okay. It's not about paying a ransom. Okay. That's not what this is about. This is about paying for recovery. Okay. Paying to get your systems back in order. Paying somebody like me that goes in and has to wipe and reload every computer in your building. Somebody who has to make sure that I do everything I possibly can to make sure equipment has not been compromised, data has not been compromised. That can go into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you want to make sure that your insurance, your cyber liability insurance, covers that kind of stuff. Not necessarily about paying a ransom, not about paying a ransom. It's about recovering. Okay. So cyber insurance is important. And then, of course, a master service agreement with anybody you do business with. So I have an MSA. I have a SLA, a service level agreement. Those you should have for every vendor. And we like to document those MSAs and SLAs just so that we understand what kind of agreement you've gotten into, whether that be your phone system, your internet service provider, if you're in a contract of any type, we want to be able to document that, right? We got to document that. We got to understand when those contracts come up. If they're not doing a great job for you and you're in a contract, it doesn't matter because you're in a contract. So please be contracts, whole other webinar I'm going to do on contracts. And I need you there because contracts are tricky. And I have to educate everybody with regards to contracts. Okay, so those policies and procedures you should just by default start to gather. Okay. Okay, so this is all especially important during an audit. Okay. Expectations will be to have all the documentation accessible. Okay. And this should not be a stressful thing. I have many of my local government that does go through regular audits, and whether that be the comptroller or whether that be DFS, the Department of Finance, they'll come in, they'll want to do an audit. And for my clients, they pass over the DTM, and that is the checkbox with regards to, hey, this is your assets, this is your policies and procedures, this is your vendors, this is your credentials, this is everything. It saves you stress. It should not cause you stress. Okay? Saves you stress. All right. I am hoping that this has been helpful for everybody. Now, there is always an offer, and that is we will do a free dark web scan. If you're a client, I already do them for you. My team already does those dark web scans. The free network assessment is for anybody new here. If you want me to just have a conversation with you with regards to understanding what your technology looks like now, I offer those up on a regular basis. So please just talk to me. I can educate, right? Sarah is the one that controls my schedule. So she can certainly, that's her email. And she's the person that you're going to want to talk to. Okay. For those of you on the call, I appreciate you. I am an Amazon bestselling author now. And that book is a collaboration that I did with 25 others. And thank you very much for your support. Now, is there any Q&A? Is there any questions, Sarah?
Not at this time. We don't have any.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. We are at 9:30. I was able to keep it under the wire. If you have questions and you didn't ask them here, please call my office. So we will be able to have further discussion if needed. I appreciate everybody so much. Thanks, and see you next month. Bye.